Have you ever had that eerie feeling of being watched? That chill down your spine that makes you turn and look over your shoulder, even when there's apparently no one around? Now imagine feeling that on a cosmic scale. Humanity has been screaming into the universe for over 100 years, through radio waves, TV signals, military transmissions, and what we get back is a silence so profound it's actually disturbing. The universe should be teeming with life. Billions of stars, trillions of planets, a vastness so impressive that it would be almost impossible for us to be alone. And yet, here we are, apparently talking to ourselves in an empty room. But what if this silence isn't accidental? What if there's a very specific and terrifying reason for this absence of response? Let's start our story in 1977, on a night that would forever change how we think about extraterrestrial life. Jerry Amon was an astronomer like any other, analyzing routine data from the Big Ear radio telescope. But when his eyes landed on a specific sequence of numbers and letters, he did what any of us would do. He circled the data and wrote "Wow" in the margin. Thus was born the famous WOW signal, a transmission that lasted exactly 72 seconds and then vanished as if it had never existed. Now you might be thinking, okay, but why is this signal so special? The answer lies in the details. The signal was tuned to a frequency very close to that of hydrogen, the most common element in the universe. It's as if someone had deliberately chosen the universal channel to communicate, the frequency that any intelligent civilization would know to use. Imagine you're lost in a foreign city and need to ask for help. You're not going to shout in Portuguese. You'll try to use the most universal language possible. Hydrogen would be exactly that in the cosmic context. What's most intriguing is that the signal came from the direction of the constellation Sagittarius, a region packed with stars and planetary systems. It was like receiving a text message from an unknown number, but knowing that number comes from an area where you know lots of people live. And here comes the part that really keeps scientists awake at night. All subsequent attempts to capture the same signal failed completely. It was as if someone had whispered our name in a crowd and then disappeared among the people. But perhaps the most fascinating thing about the WOW signal is what it represents in the larger context of our search for extraterrestrial life. For decades, we've been sweeping the skies with increasingly sophisticated radio telescopes, hoping to find patterns that can't be explained by natural phenomena. The SETI project, Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, has analyzed trillions of signals, but none have come close to the intensity and precision of the WOW signal. It's as if it were a glimpse of something bigger, a free sample of a conversation yet to come, or one that was deliberately cut short. This situation leads us to a fascinating question that has tormented scientists for decades. In 1961, Frank Drake created an equation that seemed simple on the surface, but opened a scientific Pandora's box. The Drake equation tries to calculate how many intelligent civilizations exist in our galaxy, taking into account factors like how many stars exist, how many planets are habitable, and what's the probability of intelligent life arising. When you crunch the numbers, even being conservative, the result is impressive. We're talking about potentially thousands, maybe millions of civilizations scattered just throughout the Milky Way. It's like discovering that your building, which you thought had only you, actually has thousands of occupied apartments. But then comes the obvious question. If there are so many people living in the building, why doesn't anyone make noise? That's exactly what Enrico Fermi asked, creating what we know today as the Fermi paradox. During lunch with colleagues in 1950, Fermi dropped a question that seems simple but is actually devastating. Where is everybody? If there are so many civilizations out there, where's the evidence? Where are the signals, the visits, the traces of advanced technology? It's like knowing your neighborhood is full of families, but never seeing a light on, never hearing music, never seeing anyone leave their house. You'd start wondering if anyone's really there, or if something very strange is happening. And it's exactly at this point that our story takes a dark turn. Some explanations for this silence are optimistic. Maybe advanced civilizations have transcended the need for radio wave communication, using technologies we can't even imagine. Maybe they're communicating through methods that are to us what Wi-Fi would be to an 18th century person, completely incomprehensible. Or maybe there are galactic protocols, unwritten rules about when and how young civilizations should be contacted. But there are less comforting explanations. One of the most disturbing is known as the Great Filter. The idea that there's some evolutionary obstacle so difficult to overcome that most civilizations simply can't get past it. Maybe it's the origin of life itself. Maybe it's the development of intelligence. Or maybe it's something still in our future. The most frightening possibility is that this filter is civilization's tendency to self-destruct when they reach a certain technological level, like a cosmic test that few manage to pass. Imagine you're walking alone in a dense forest at night. You know the forest is full of life. You can sense it. You can hear small noises among the leaves. But you also know that forests have predators. So you walk quietly, paying attention to every sound, because the first one to make too much noise might attract exactly the kind of attention you don't want. This is the essence of the dark forest hypothesis, one of the most disturbing theories ever proposed to explain the cosmic silence. The idea is both simple and terrifying. Maybe all civilizations in the universe have learned a fundamental lesson. In an environment where resources are limited and distances are enormous, any other form of intelligent life represents a potential threat. Not necessarily an immediate threat, but a future one. It's like two hunters in a forest where there's only room for one. The first to reveal their position might be the first not to come home. Now think about what humanity has done in the last 100 years. We haven't just sent deliberate signals into space. Our radio, TV, and military communications have leaked into the cosmos like a cosmic siren. It's as if we've been walking through the dark forest with a powerful flashlight, shouting our location to anyone paying attention. If the dark forest hypothesis is correct, this might not have been the best survival strategy. The logic is cruel, but it makes sense. In a galaxy where civilizations can exist for millions of years, patience becomes a survival virtue. It doesn't make sense to attack a primitive civilization that might not even last long, but it also doesn't make sense to ignore one that could eventually become a threat. It's better to observe, wait, and act only when necessary. Like a chess game where each move could determine the survival of billions of beings. And here's a factor most people don't consider: time. For a civilization that's existed for millions of years, observing humanity for a few hundred years is like us watching a movie in slow motion. Our entire history, from the first civilizations to today, might be just an interesting moment in the timeline of much older beings. Maybe they're simply waiting to see if we'll overcome our destructive instincts, or if we'll follow the path of other species they've observed before. Consider also the possibility that different civilizations have different philosophies about contact. Some might be curious explorers, others might be cautious isolationists, and some might be opportunistic predators. In a universe with this diversity of personalities, silence might be the only strategy that works for everyone. It's like a tacit agreement. Nobody talks until we all agree it's safe. This leads us to an even more unsettling possibility. Maybe the universe's silence isn't a void, but a strategy. Entire civilizations might have developed cosmic camouflage technologies, masking their energy emissions, hiding signs of technological activity, simulating dead planets. It's as if the whole neighborhood agreed to pretend nobody's home when strangers walk down the street. In nature, this is common. Animals that survive longest are often those who've mastered the art of camouflage. The octopus that perfectly mimics the ocean floor. The chameleon that adapts to environmental colors. Even humans who've developed military camouflage techniques. Maybe evolution on a galactic scale has selected civilizations that learned to hide. And here's the part that might keep you awake. If this is true, Earth might have already been noticed, cataloged, and ignored. Maybe some advanced civilization detected our signals decades ago and decided we don't yet represent enough of a threat to justify action. Or maybe they're simply waiting to see how our story develops before making any decisions. Think of it like an aquarium viewed from outside. The fish in the aquarium might have no idea they're being observed, but whoever's on the outside can see every movement, every interaction, every development. Maybe we're the fish, completely oblivious to the fact that our little blue fishbowl has already been noticed by observers who prefer to maintain a safe distance. This leads us to an interesting reflection on the nature of intelligence itself. Maybe the true mark of an advanced civilization isn't its ability to communicate, but its ability to remain hidden. On Earth, the most efficient predators are rarely the noisiest ones. Sharks move in silence. Big cats hunt in shadows. Even experienced fishermen know that making noise scares the fish away. Maybe evolution on a galactic scale has favored civilizations that learn discretion is the best form of survival. And if we think about it, this strategy makes evolutionary sense. A civilization that announces its presence is essentially saying, "Here I am, here are my resources, here's my technology." For a predatory or expansionist species, that's like a dinner invitation. But a civilization that stays hidden can prosper without attracting unwanted attention from less friendly neighbors. The wow signal might have been exactly that. Not an attempt at communication, but a test. A civilization checking if we were paying attention, if we had the necessary technology to detect specific transmissions. The fact that it never repeated might mean the test was completed and the information was filed in some galactic database. But perhaps the most frightening implication of the dark forest hypothesis is what it suggests about our future. If the universe really works like a dark forest where silence equals survival, then humanity might be making a fatal mistake by continuing to transmit. Every signal we send might be bringing us closer to a point of no return, where our location becomes too well known to ignore. It's like the difference between being a lost tourist asking for directions and being someone shouting their location in a dangerous neighborhood at night. The intention might be the same, but the consequences are drastically different. And what's most disturbing is that once you make too much noise in a dark forest, there's no going back. The sound has already spread. The location has already been revealed. But here's something few consider. Maybe our cosmic youth is exactly what protects us. A civilization millions of years old might look at us the same way we look at children playing in the park. Interesting to observe, but not necessarily a threat that needs immediate intervention. Our own technological immaturity might be our temporary salvation. There's also the possibility that we've already received signals, but simply don't recognize them. Imagine trying to explain a smartphone to someone from the 18th century. They might see the screen's light, might even touch the device, but would never fully understand what's happening. Maybe we're constantly being bombarded with communications from advanced civilizations, but our technology is too primitive to decode the message. Think about phenomena we still can't fully explain. Fast radio bursts, gamma ray bursts, unexplainable variations in certain stars' brightness. We call these natural phenomena because we can't find another explanation. But what if some of these events are actually technological signatures from civilizations so advanced that their normal activities seem like forces of nature to us? So, we arrive at a fascinating dilemma. Should we stop transmitting and start hiding? Or is it too late, and our fate has already been sealed by the transmissions of recent decades? Maybe the answer is that it doesn't matter anymore. We're already too visible to change strategies. Like a city that's already turned on all its lights at night, there's no point in turning off one or two windows. Or maybe, and this is a hopeful possibility, the dark forest hypothesis is wrong. Maybe there are benevolent civilizations out there, waiting for young species like ours to demonstrate enough maturity before making contact. Maybe the silence is a test of patience, not predation. Like parents watching children learn to walk, ready to intervene if necessary, but letting development happen naturally. The truth is, we don't know. And maybe this uncertainty is exactly what makes the question so fascinating. Every night, when we look up at the starry sky, we're potentially seeing millions of neighbors who chose to stay silent. But we don't know if that silence comes from fear, wisdom, indifference, or something completely different that our human minds can't yet comprehend. What we do know is that at this very moment, our transmissions continue traveling through space at the speed of light. Our attempts at contact are reaching distant stars, carrying humanity's signature to places we may never come to know. And somewhere, perhaps, someone, or something, is listening. The question is no longer whether we're alone in the universe. The question is whether those who share this cosmos with us have chosen silence for reasons we don't yet understand. And if we ever receive a response to our calls, maybe we'll discover whether we were right to shout in the dark forest, or whether we should have learned to walk in silence from the beginning, because knowledge is just the beginning.